On this episode of AV Week, we are coming to you live from New York Digital Signage Week and the Christie Experiential Network on 27th in New York. Sit back, relax, and enjoy our incredible guest list as we wrap up New York Digital Signage Week 2017.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is AV Week, episode 323, recorded Friday, November 3rd, 2017. Experiencing New York Digital Signage Week 2017.
Support for AVNation is brought to you by Crestron and by Vadio, a leading manufacturer of professional PTZ cameras, Pro AV solutions, and UCC integration systems.
This is AV Week, your weekly wrap-up of audio, visual, news, and information. My name is Tim Albright. I am your host, and we're coming to you live from New York Digital Signage Week and the Christie Experiential Network on 27th Street. So thank you for joining us. If you're not watching this live and you're listening to this in your car, you're watching it on YouTube, you missed an incredible week, and we're getting ready to tell you all about it. First and foremost is our host for today. His name is Kevin Romano from CEN. How are you, sir?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
Thank you for the space.
You're very welcome.
And for the incredible green room with all of the coffee and tea and
Adrian laid down the gauntlet and said we had to top the earlier green room this week, so hopefully we've been able to.
You have surpassed it, yes. That would be Adrian Cottrell from Daily Do. We'll talk to him in a second. Also with us is my buddy Deborah Simmons from Avatar Plus. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
And thank you for having me as well.
You're very welcome.
Wonderful green room.
Thank you. yes, it was. All right, so let's talk about this week. About five years ago or so, we mentioned Adrian's name, Adrian Cottrell from Daily Do, started collaborating and coalescing a number of events that were kind of already happening, and has grown that. I want to say 5 years ago, he said there were 4 or 5 events already happening. This year, there were between 32 and 35. That's substantial growth.
That is.
You know, Kevin, we'll start with you. For a company that's based in New York here, like I said, we're on 27th. Your office here, we've got a number of really cool displays. If you're watching the video, there's one right behind us. There's an interactive display here we'll show here in a second. There's a couple of other really, really great displays. What does this week mean for a company like yours that is based in New York, where you have folks from all over the country coming to your home base?
So it's very important for our division of Christie, because we're combining the digital signage and the technology that the industry has been really making some terrific strides in, and combining that with user experiences in movie theater lobbies specifically for the first vertical. So the advertising agencies and the media giants, the blue chip decision makers and the agencies are all here in New York. So it's nice to see everyone converge in the area that we're doing most of our selling and representing the next generation of digital signage. And thank you, Tim, for pointing out the displays that are behind you. You know, we've been trying to take digital signage and bring it down to the consumer level. Instead of putting it up 20, 30 feet, they're taking over, large sides of interior space that's just not been used before. We want to bring that down so the consumer gets a chance to touch and interact and use augmented reality and other, really cool designs and technology that's really, changing the industry.
I heard a phrase, a new phrase for me on Tuesday at Adrian's investor conference, eye level digital signage, where it's right, where the folks are walking, whether it's through a lobby or through a shopping center, and they're able to interact with it like we have.
Sure.
If you're watching this, it's right behind Kevin,
right,
where somebody walks up. You have a webcam there. They can interact with it. They can. Sure. There are different skins that they can do. There's one skin right now. You have it for Thanksgiving, the Thanksgiving holiday. There's one that has 2 apple cutouts where
right,
2 people can kind of sit side by side, and your face would be in one apple, and my face would be in another apple.
Yeah.
How do you take that to a movie theater, or how do you take that to a shopping center and just kind of roll this out and say, here's a really great interactive experience for your users, right? But also allows them to leverage that for advertising?
Well, we have a terrific creative team here at CN, and we like to make content that is relevant to the consumer. So as the X generation, the Z generation, the millennials, they're out and about. They want to be entertained, and they can tell if you're relevant or you're a fraud, basically. And then they're not going to waste their time. You've got 5 seconds, 3 seconds at most, just to capture their interest. And if it's something that they can then combine a one-to-one to one-to-many experience, and that's what we try to combine those experiences. So, you have push advertising being traditional push advertising, so it's messages being driven either with sound, sight, and motion, and then all of a sudden an interactive on the same display, not on a separate display where they have to climb into something and change what they would normally do. Make it a pedestrian experience. You touch the screen and close off your interaction for about 25 seconds. And we were finding that the brands have a one-to-one engagement with these consumers for 25 to 26 seconds, which is unheard of. I mean, it's a lot of time for someone to do that. And for instance, with our photo booth, you take the picture, you choose the skin, take the picture, and it goes to your phone, and then we follow whether or not you're sending it to Facebook or you're sending it to Twitter and you're sending it to Instagram, and so we give that back to that's relevant data that we give back to our advertising partners.
Yeah.
And this year showed quite a few of blue chip companies that are really embracing this technology. So you saw at the DPAA Media Summit, I think we had McDonald's there. We also had Farmers Insurance, Hulu there, and also Microsoft Surface, which they'll be advertising with us on the CEN network in the lobbies of movie theaters coming in the next week or so. So they're embracing this. So that we're very excited.
Yeah, absolutely. Deborah, you guys in Avatar Plus, what did you, when you came into this week, right? You come in New York. What were you hoping to get away from it, and did you take away what you hoped to?
So I live in New York.
Okay.
I'm based in Brooklyn. Avatar Plus is actually based in Brooklyn at Industry Cities. This is probably my 4th digital signage event participating annually. Before, I was with a hardware manufacturer. This time, I'm with a content and creation house.
Right.
So for me, coming in with that perspective allowed me to engage, obviously, with what used to be competitors, now as potential partners from a display perspective. From a software perspective, we met wonderful content management platforms, data management platforms. I think for me, what I was able to do from this lens, from the content perspective lens, I was able to really draw a circle around from content to display to delivering that content to having data on that content. Really, for me, I'm going to use a term that we often hear in advertising. I was able to draw a circle and close a loop fully. So it was great. I got to engage with quite a few folks.
Very cool.
Yeah.
When you go to partners now, because you do have a hardware background, what are you able to say? Okay, you know what? I've done this from this side. What does that give you from the content creation side?
Yeah.
Having that knowledge.
It's interesting. So I have a hardware and a software background. Also, I come from a content. I originally started my I would say in the content background in film and video.
Okay.
And then from film and video, I went into hardware, software, back to hardware, now pulling it all together through content. One of the things that we always wanted to do from the software perspective and even from the hardware perspective, we wanted to really focus on what is the content about? What a story are we trying to tell? And then to allow that content dictate what the technology should be. But sometimes it's hard when you're on the technology side to really do that. And so for me now...
Why is that?
I think you're always thinking about your wonderful, amazing, shiny objects.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're wonderful, right? But this display may not be the right display for this type of story that you're telling here. So for me, I'm finally in a position where I can say I have the knowledge of hardware, I have the knowledge of software, but now I'm really thinking from the content strategy and what is it that we want that content to do in terms of engaging with the consumer, and then what is the right technology to deliver it. So I'm agnostic. I get to be truly agnostic, and it's like being in a candy store. I've got many, many different options of delivering what that story should be.
Is there anything, and this is actually for Kevin and any other manufacturer working out there, Is there anything currently on the market or something that you've seen this week or haven't seen this week that you wish a piece of hardware could do from a content creator standpoint?
I would say no.
Okay.
Not at this point. I think that there's so many different options out there, so many different points of entry, and so many different delivery mechanisms in the hardware. I would say no. I'm sure there's some engineer working very hard in the back going, well, you just wait until next year.
Yes.
But at this point, no. I would say no.
Engineers are always doing that. Wait, I have something else. Kevin, if somebody was watching this and they've heard they've obviously heard of Christie, but maybe not CEN, what's one thing that you wish people knew about your group?
The fact that we're able to deliver these relevant experiences and change the way people are basically interacting with their entertainment perspective when they go to a movie. Instead of getting through the front door, rushing to your seat, now you have advanced ticket purchasing, so they can spend more time in the lobbies and enjoy the adult F&B options that are now becoming more prevalent around the country. You mentioned something that was very key, which is the fact that we've built a network that's agnostic. Whatever we haven't thought of, we want to make sure that we have a platform that we can accept that and accept the different APIs and be able to have an experience that you see behind you, which is augmented reality, and we don't have to change the hardware. It's always with a vision of what's going to happen in the future. And even when you combine your software platform, we've chosen to work with IUTA, and IUTA has a programmatic division to them, so that we're able to now meet that need, because you see, I think over the next 6 months to a year, some more programmatic buys where you're tracking where people are going, not only in the theater, but also what do they do afterwards? What's their customer journey within the next 2 weeks or a month? And do they go to the BMW dealership, or do they go and buy that Microsoft Surface and be able to get that data back? And that's key. And so trying to predict that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. Can I say something?
Sure,
I just wanted, and it was interesting just listening to you, and it's great to hear. And I think I'm seeing, and I think we have room to get better. But I think this is where I'm seeing things go. I think we're stronger together than separate. Typically, you have these islands of people making content. You have an island of the software platforms. You have an island of the hardware. The fact that you're able to have these APIs and begin to integrate more closely, if you don't have it, you don't have to go and build it. Right. Perhaps you partner with, right? And the more we want to deliver content, the more content is needed, right? Exactly. So I'm excited to be in the content creation arena, but working very closely with technology partners, software and hardware.
That's wonderful to hear that. That's great. We feel the same way.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, thank you both so much. Deborah, how do people find you?
Oh, well, I'm at Avatar Plus. My email address is dsimmons, SIMMONS, at avatar-plus.com. That's dsimmons@avatar-plus.com.
All right, very good. And Mr. Romano?
And I'm at Christie Digital. It's kevin.romano@christiedigital.com.
All right, very good. Deborah Simmons, thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful.
Good to see you again.
And thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Romano, thank you again for the space and for the lovely spread in the green room.
See you next year.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right, we'll let you guys get out of
All
here.
right. Thank you very much. All right.
And we'll get the next group of guests on here. As we're doing that, I want to remind you, if you're interested in digital signage, we have a couple of specials coming up, and actually we're partnering with Digital Signage Expo for 2018 already. Our buddy Bill O'Donnell is doing a couple of additions to EdTech, which is our monthly look at the higher ed space. So he has a couple of folks who are actually speaking at DSE next month over the course of the next couple of episodes of that. All right, joining us right now is Miss Alicia Henley. How are you, ma'am?
I'm great. How are you?
The smooth factor.
Yes. I'm happy to be here.
All right. Also with us is Jeff Hastings from Brightsign. How are you, sir?
Good. How you doing?
Good. Good week?
Awesome week.
You tired?
Tired.
Absolutely. Alicia, I want to start with you. This is your first time out for New York Digital Signage Week.
Yes, it
What did
is.
you think?
I loved it. I loved it.
Why?
Because it was all about the experience. Every venue was unique. Every venue offered something different, and so did every manufacturer as well.
Okay.
There was a lot of collaboration and partnerships, which lets me know that people are working together to create that ultimate experience for end users, and that was very impressive to me. Very impressive.
All right, Jeff. When I asked the manufacturers this all week long. You guys make a big investment. All right, this is almost the level of a trade show, although you don't have an actual booth, right?
Yep.
When you make that investment and you're like, okay, let's do Digital Signage Week again. This is what we're hoping to get out of it. What are those points? What are those takeaways, or the relationships you're hoping to build, or the partnerships you're hoping to forge?
Well, first and foremost, there's really nothing on the East Coast, right? Especially in the
There's nothing on the East Coast.
Well, I mean, there's no events on the East Coast.
There's a Times Square just down the street from here.
No, there's no trade shows. There's no big events on the East Coast. That's what I'm talking about. So, the New York metro market and really the Upper East Coast, it's kind of void of events. There's the National Retail Federation show, but that's not a digital signage show. So we see this as a location, an event to pull in kind of all of our partners and customers from this region. And our whole goal is to basically connect with them, understand what they're doing, spend time with them. Because at the traditional shows, whether it's Infocom, whether it's DSE, a lot of them don't come. They just, they stay out here, and, we try to come out and make, sales calls and things like that. But it's just, you just can't get the critical mass. So, in fact, last night we had a big cocktail party and probably had 200 people there. And we'd never get 200 people from this area coming to a trade show in Orlando or Vegas.
Just for the record, I was at that event, and if you ever come to New York, if you're not from here, find your way to the press lounge, because that's where it was held. It's an incredible venue, but the view was fantastic.
It was amazing with the moon kind of coming over.
Yes.
How did you work that out, by the way?
And also just having it super warm. I mean, the night before would have been freezing out there. It's great temperature, and seeing the moon come up, it was an awesome venue.
Almost magical. It really was.
It was really cool.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah, I have to say.
Alicia, what was your biggest takeaway from this week?
Biggest takeaway, going to the SEGD event, the X Lab.
Okay.
That was something different because
Explain that.
Basically, the X Lab was created for the designers of that association. It's a smaller association compared to the DSF,
Okay.
And they focus on designers. And the conversation there was different. Was different from when you go to the NEC showcase floor, or you go to other events. It was focused on creating that overall experience. They had the Rockwell Lab group there. Float 4 was there, talking about these different experiences that they've created in all these unique spaces and how they do that. And the conversation was different, and I really liked that event because again, it was based on design, architecture, the choreography that goes into creating not just the design but the experience overall, and how they're getting that done, and how they partner with content creators to accomplish these things. So I really enjoyed that show.
Jeff, one of the common conversations I have, especially with integrators, you're one layer of your client, right?
Oh yeah.
Is the content part, right? They can buy bright sign players all day long, but you know what? It doesn't come preloaded with content on it.
Exactly.
How is there a way that you can help integrators, right? I'm from St. Louis. I have a lot of buddies that are integrators in St. Louis. How do you help those guys and gals that are trying to get not just the hardware part, they can put bright signs and players in there, but optimizing those with some really killer content?
So we've actually put a big effort forward over the last few years to actually, and you go to our website, we have CMS partners and we have content partners. Okay. And having content partners is a key part of our business. So we put a lot of effort into building relationship with them, getting them all the tools, talking about how to optimize things, how to build projects, kind of how to help them deploy content, and it's helping a lot. We brought up, we probably have 10 super strong partners that develop unbelievable experiences. In fact, I just came from the Freedom Tower.
Okay.
Have you been to the Freedom Tower?
Yes.
Rode up the elevators?
I have not rode up the elevators.
So you've got to ride up the elevators. The observation deck is cool, but the elevator ride is awesome. And basically what it is 9 screens on the elevator. And as it goes up, it starts with the ground and goes through the years as you get to the top.
Wow.
And you see Manhattan, well, the whole New York area, come to life as if you're looking out the window.
Wow.
So I look at that, and there's 9 bright signs driving. It's all synchronized presentation. But I look at that kind of content, and it was one of our content partners that we deal with. And it was like, that is digital signage done right. It's incredibly well, installed. The content is amazing. It creates an experience in the elevator that you would never ever think of as an elevator ride. Like, people love put signs, but this creates an experience for the elevator ride, which was just it's
And
really awesome.
That's why I think integrators should come. Like I said, last year I wasn't here, but I watched your show. And of course, that was a conversation why integrators should come. Because if we're going to start pivoting towards that experience, Avixa's going towards experience, but we're not going to fully create that experience if we don't partner and start having the right conversations with the content creators. Like you said, you have content partners. That comes all into play, and creating that full experience to have those conversations, I think you need to be here at New York Digital Signage Week to do that, because everybody I met, that's what it was about. Yeah, we have the hardware, we have the software, but we're looking for people that are creating the content, and it was the best of both worlds here.
Yeah, it does come down to experience. So that's it. We'll end on that. Jeff, thank you so much. How do people get a hold of you or BrightSign?
www.brightsign.biz.
Okay.
Lots of contacts on there, or jhastings@brightsign.biz.
jhastings.brightsign. I appreciate it. Ms. Henley, always good to hang out with you, ma'am.
Always a pleasure. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And if you don't know, everyone can find me on almost every platform at The Smooth Factor, smoothfactor.com. And that's where I'll be publishing a lot of stuff from this week.
All right, very good. She also does a fabulous video for our friends over at SCN Magazine.
Yes.
Well, AV Network, I guess.
Yes,
is AV Network?
Yes.
Is it
Well, it's AV Network,
Okay.
AV Technology Magazine, and that should be coming out sometime today.
Okay.
The AVIT Weekly Update, and we did that actually at the from the Planar venue.
Oh, very nice.
Which was Gilmore's Sound Advance facility, and that was a beautiful facility. But that's another conversation.
That's another conversation.
That's
All right,
another
thank you both so much.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Let's get out of here, and we'll get our next
Thank you,
group of guests in. As they are doing so, I also want to remind you, Alicia mentioned Digital Signage Expo. We're going to be coming to you from that. Go ahead. Coming to you from that in 2018. March of 2018, we'll be heading to Vegas. And as we get the next group of folks, the next gentleman to my right, if you're listening on the radio, to my right, his name is Adrian Cottrell.
Hello, everybody.
He is from Daily Do. How are you, sir?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks
Good.
for having me on again.
Dude, it's just your week.
No, not really, but
Oh, it's your
it's
week.
the end of the week.
Also with us is my buddy Brian. I want to show you something, Brian. Brian is from Peerless AV. And if you're watching, excuse me, Adrian, I'm going to put my foot on your thing.
Okay. Oh my God, you've got socks
Brian,
on.
Yes.
Brian is from Peerless AV in Chicago, and I am wearing my Chicago Bears socks. So
That is beautiful.
That
I'm a
is for you.
season ticket holder
Yes.
for the Bears.
But
Long
have they-
time fan.
I would like to point out that he has still never taken me to a game, but
Okay.
that's a whole other story. All right.
Well, now I know this, so we're going to have to go.
All right.
Have they won a game this season?
Oh, be quiet.
They've won 3 in a row. What are you kidding?
Exactly. We're on roll, babe. We're going to hit the Super Bowl.
Yes, we will.
Someday.
Someday.
Not this
In our
year.
decade.
In our lifetime.
Hey, if they could just beat the Packers,
That's all I care about.
that's all I care about.
Yeah, not even the Lions or the Vikings, just
No,
the Packers.
just the Packers.
Just the Packers. All right, this is not a sports show. Brian, you guys have been involved with this. I'm going to say almost since the beginning. Adrian can correct me on that. At least in the last 3 or 4 years that I'm aware.
Oh, yeah, no. Yeah, Peerless has been doing it
Yeah.
for over 10 years, but no more.
Yeah.
What Adrian's done with the Digital Signage Week in both New York and London, it's just become so much bigger than it's ever been in the past.
So Peerless is a unique company, right? You have mounts. We have mounts that are over here in this space here, right?
Right.
You also have digital. You also have digital signage. You have displays. There are over 700 Peerless displays at Daytona 500.
Correct.
And
Okay.
kiosks. They have good
And
kiosks.
kiosks.
Yes.
But I'm just talking about the displays themselves, right? You have kiosks, right? Interactive kiosks, signage kiosks. So when you come here, what is your main goal?
So digital signage is to us involves everybody, and people have asked us that, because Peerless gets involved in outdoor digital displays, yet we're partners with Samsung and NEC,
And Christie.
Christie and LG and all of the display manufacturers, yet we're also their competitors in some cases, but partners in others. And I think in the digital signage space, everybody recognizes that you need to be able to be a partner in it, because nobody does everything.
No.
You've got to be able to know your space and who brings you into the opportunity, and you stay with them. And so we've been able to do that for decades with our business, and we really enjoy the partnerships that we have, and we trust them, and people have come to trust us, and we go to all of the events. We're not going to host our own event. We're going to be at everybody else's events to support them and their business.
No, that's actually quite an interesting point. So you're actively going to your partners' events to support them.
Yes, we actively present, have our products there, sponsor their events to make sure that they're with them and what they need, because screens don't hang themselves, projectors don't stay up, they don't hold themselves in the air. I know LG will try and tell you otherwise, that the OLEDs, are so thin that they can just be Velcro to the wall. Well, there's electronics behind there. The electronics are not, they're not seamless. They have to be put somewhere.
Next year at ISE, they're going to introduce Peerless Velcro.
Oh, perfect. Good brand.
Yes,
like it.
Yes, we do. Yeah, we're going to do something pretty cool at DSE that you'll see with OLED that I think is going to be pretty amazing.
Okay. Mr. Adrian?
Yes?
Why'd you do this?
What, help bring the week together?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good question. It's our 5th year now. I think you said on an earlier bit of the show, 34 events this year.
Okay. I said 32 to 35.
Yeah, there's 32 official events. There's a couple of people who popped up and jumped on the bandwagon, which we sort of encourage. They're not part. I mean, Peerless has been kind enough to be an official sponsor of the week, so if you're an official sponsor, you get certain benefits. So it's good to have people wanting to do things during the week. There's lots of private parties and things as well that go on. The reason for doing it is it was obviously based on London Fashion Week and New York Fashion Week. It doesn't have to be expensive for people to put on an event. That's the key thing. There's New York and London have both got great venues. We did an event last night at the One World Trade Center, the Freedom Tower. And it's very kind of Ground Truth, which is a location-based marketing company, to put the event on. They supplied beer and wine and some food. And we brought 40 executives to the top of the floor, and they could see the view, have a chat. We did a little TV interview like this. Nice and easy. It doesn't have to cost lots of money. You don't have to go to spend a lot of money at an Infocom or a DSE to do something and bring the industry together. So for people whose hometown is New York or London, that's great. For people who've got venues that they can hire out, that's also great. I think you and I have already talked about doing a similar event to this next year in the Microsoft buildings. And Microsoft have offered us their top floor of their flagship retail store on 5th Avenue. Easy to do, and it brings people together. So we've had people from Japan, from India, from lots of people from Australia, Europe, all sorts of Americans. And there's nothing really to beat face-to-face communications, having chat, private parties, getting together with old friends, making new friends, etc. So that's why we do it.
Something that Jeff Hastings said, and I want to get your reaction to this. There is not a audio-visual digital signage show in the Northeast.
Of North America?
For North America, right.
It used to be, but yeah, I guess.
But there used to be. So how much credence does this show, or this week, give to, or how much does it help the fact that if there isn't one, and I think he's right, I can't think of one, maybe NAB East, but that's more broadcast. How does events like this help the market and the folks that are here? I mean, let's be honest. We've talked about this several times. Times Square is the jewel of digital signage, at least in North America.
Yes, in North America.
For sure, yeah. That's a good question. Well, Jeff's a clever man. I've not actually thought about it before. There used to be a show, which was a digital signage show, which competed a little bit with DSE. It was always its junior. It was always a 4th or a 5th of the size. Didn't last very long on the East Coast. Hurricane Sandy, bizarrely, and very sadly put paid to it 5 years ago. Is there a market for that? I don't know. I mean, DSE is the world's largest trade show. It's one of our favorite trade shows for digital signage. It's the world's largest trade show. I think you need a flagship event like that, and I think you need some other things as well. I mean, we're working on London, we're working on New York, we're looking at putting on some other events in the Far East, in Singapore or perhaps China. They won't be weeks to start with, but there'll be summits or conferences. Okay. I don't know. There's something unique about New York Fashion Week and London Fashion Week, which we've completely modelled ourselves on. We're good enough to have NEC do a really good showcase with 400 or 500 people. We're very lucky that we've got Barry Fry and the DPAA putting an event that brings on 900 people. Our investor conference brings in 100, 110 people. But all the other events, whether it be LG or things, bring in 50, 60 people here all over the place. It adds up. We've probably got 5,000 or 6,000 people in town this week talking about AV, talking about digital out of home, talking about digital signage. That is the same number of people that go to DSE.
Yeah.
But it's spread over a week. We had the DSF Coffee and Controversy.
You did as well, with 160 people, I think. Yeah, so I forgot that one.
Yeah, in one of Google's auditoriums. It was a fabulous event.
It was. I didn't go, but it was, you're right, sir.
Yeah, I really do agree that what you've done and the way you've been able to categorize all of the different events for the week has been very helpful. The website that you've put together, people say, well, how do I find out? I go, go to the NewYorkDigitalSignageWeek.com. I mean, you literally have that website done, and it is a fantastic way to get involved and be aware of what's going on. And I think people want to come here and kind of explore and not be stuck in a meeting room all day. You can do so many different things throughout this week. I mean, I've been here since Monday. It's now Friday, and I have not stopped moving since.
Yep.
You'll stop when you get on the plane with,
the other thing
with me.
The other thing that I've noticed, because networking, certainly for salespeople like yourself, Brian, or business development people, is important. I've had so many people catch me late last night at the Grand Truth event or some events we went to today, and they said, I saw you on Monday, but I didn't have a chance to chat with you. I saw you on Tuesday, but I didn't have a chance to chat with you. By the third or fourth time they've bumped into you, you've got time for them.
Yeah.
When you go to Infocom, you just get lost.
Oh my gosh.
If I don't talk to Brian straight away on the trade floor, I probably won't see him again.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Brian, the next time I'm going to see you, and actually Adrian as well, is ISE, Integrated Systems Europe. What are we going to see in this space, specifically the digital signage space, between now and maybe ISE, or between now and DSE in Vegas?
It's interesting. I'm sure we're going to see a lot of things from Christie on LED. I think LED is one of the areas that has really been expanding within the digital signage community. Prices keep coming down. Pixel pitches are tighter. Front's serviceable. So we're seeing a lot of that changing quite a bit. We'll be unveiling some new outdoor high bright displays, as well as some new outdoor street furniture.
Very nice.
We're doing some things that have gotten us into the outdoor street furniture area. We did a project in Hillsboro, Oregon, where we did a complete outdoor units.
Wow.
Provide even solar, so it's got actually solar involved in it. So we're going to see a lot of new different, very project-based solutions to fit an application.
I think you Americans have to remember that ISE, for whether you like it or not, is the place that people launch their products now. Yes. That's happened for the last 2 or 3 years, which is why ISE now gets 70,000.
70,000.
70,000.
There was over 200, according to Mike Blackman, that runs ISE, over 200 product announcements last year.
And do you know why that is? Infocom in June is the wrong time of the year to launch a product.
Of course.
Especially if you're in the education space. Budgets have already been spent or talked about. I mean, we're closing deals in May and June for that space. If we waited until Infocom to launch that product, it's a next year project. So ISE, we've been launching almost all of our new products at ISE for the past 3 years. So
I know that at ISE, Scala are going to do a sort of a repeat of their 30th anniversary party that they did this week in Times Square.
Oh, very nice.
In ISE for their European, Middle East customers. Because again, one of the good things about ISE is, although Amsterdam isn't my favorite town in the world, it's very easy for people to get to. Very easy to ship product into, which is why it's, I always asked Mike Blackman in the old days why they had it at ISE, which is, it always snows during ISE. It's always windy, it's always cold. Why don't you have it in Barcelona? It's the simple fact that you can ship stuff to Amsterdam very easily, and you can't ship things to Barcelona as easily. So Scala are going to repeat that for their Europe, Middle East, African customers. A lot of the big software vendors that I know well will use ISE for a place to bring their partners and people in to meet them. So it's like a meeting point. I think Stampede are doing some secret stuff with Christie as well. It was their 4K product, and they're doing some events around that. And they're also doing some stuff at CES. So I think they're going to do some stuff at CES, and I think they're going to repeat it at ISE. Which I think should be quite cool. That's the only thing I know about AV.
All right.
In terms of it's a 4K thingy.
No, be quiet.
And don't forget, we actually have a really big party at ISE now too. We actually rented out a theater this year, so we're going to actually have a concert.
That must have gotten lost with that invitation. Must have gotten lost with my Bears.
Yeah, my invitation got lost as well.
Mr. Brian McClellan.
Well, these invites, you got to come though.
I know. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. You needed to catch a flight. So, how do people find you or Peerless?
Go to peerless-av.com or look me up on the website there as well. You can find me.
All right, very good, Brian McClellan.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
AV, while we get Steph on here, I'm going to ask Adrian real quickly. If somebody wants to get a hold of you or get involved in next year's Digital Signage Week, how do they do that?
Well, Daily Do is our brand and our Twitter account, so you can just Google that and email me. But the New York Digital Signage website as well, which is pretty high up the Google rankings these days, has got a contact form. It's a very nice question you asked, actually, and I'm going to have to pay some money later on. Because we actually, a couple of years ago, I think it was at the urging of, I can't think who it was, but one screen manufacturer, I think, asked us to put a little guide together, and we put a little pop-up guide together of how to put on an event. Yeah. And it's quite detailed, because I like writing. So it was a 4-page guide with pictures saying this is what you should do, and giving people suggestions. Again, going back maybe to the previous question you asked about why we do these things. Think about somebody who's got a great location. If you want to put an event on, you really need a good location, good food, drink always attracts AV people,
Absolutely.
especially to an event. A good speaker, and you've got an event. You can get a crowd very, very easily. So the pop-up guide actually talks about that and explains how you could do it, and it doesn't cost any money to do. It's just a case of the location is the killer in all the big cities, London and New York. But yes, that guide is available on the website.
All right, very good. Joining us now is Steph Gutnick. Steph is from Broadsign. How are you?
Doing well. How about you?
Good. How was your week?
Busy.
Yeah.
Not much sleep this week.
The answer is busy, and when I ask how she's doing, she's going to say tired, because all of us are.
No, I'm actually energized. There are
Good for
cookies
you.
in the green room at Christie's office here, so had my fair share.
What did you, when you came into this week, what were you hoping to get out of it?
An understanding of the way that the dialogue is changing, both from the AV side of the space as well as from the more advertising side of the space.
Okay.
So my first Digital Signage Week in New York was about 5 years ago, and was largely an AV kind of conversation about how we can improve the look and feel of digital out of home in different types of verticals. And over the years, that has shifted, well, to continuing that and all that it means in terms of experiences and AI and all of that. But it also means bringing in advertisers and examining what they require from our space to execute really innovative campaigns that are engaging consumers. And for the past couple of years, I've really been a true believer that it's the advertising dollars that are propelling our industry forward so quickly.
And that's, I mean, Barry Fry at DPWA's got to take a lot of credit for that. You know, the big event, the most attended event during the week is the midweek event, the DPWA Video Everywhere Summit. And that's been part of this week for the 5 years that you first came, when it first came together with NEC, DPWA, and ourselves. So he's the one who's really been banging the drum on the agencies and the brands to bring those in. The only thing I'd add to what you've said is the fact that it's the advertising dollars that are also driving things like smart cities. Now, that may not be a good thing. I gave a presentation yesterday at the SEGD event, which is one of the other big associations that puts on events this week. And they're the Society for Experiential Graphic Designers. So you get wayfinders and architects and urban planners, very, very creative people. It's good for them to learn about AV and good for them to learn about digital signage and good for them to learn about the ad-based world. But they see their market growing because ad dollars are flowing into it. What I warned them was that it's not the only way it should be done. If you look at intersection here, the fact that it's paid for by ad dollars is not the way to do it. There has to be other reasons to
explain what Intersections are doing.
Intersections doing the Link NYC project here in New York, and they've got a project in London.
Kiosks that
they're
have access.
They are kiosks, aren't they? They're freestanding street furniture units on the streets of New York.
That provide internet access. They provide emergency notification. If you're in trouble, you can hit help. And
there's a tablet on the side, and they're funded by advertising. Yes.
Interesting.
So,
Steph, you said the conversation 5 years ago was AV centric, right? Is it a good thing that we've moved away from that and more towards the content side?
I was actually having this conversation last week with a few folks in the space who do exist in the AV sector. And me personally, I used to run global marketing with Broadsign, and I moved to New York at the beginning of this year to really take on our programmatic business. We have a supply side platform that is now available to the market, and my role now is educating agencies and brands about why they should be adding digital out of home to their campaigns. They're not familiar with the space. They've never really bought it before. So that's been a nice challenge, and there is progress there, absolutely. But I've had to change the whole way that I speak about our space to match the way that they speak about theirs.
How so?
As simple as when I started at Broadsign, we would refer to our clients as network operators or media owners. And these are the networks of screens, such as JC for example. And now, when I speak to digital buyers, I refer to these clients as publishers.
Yep.
Okay.
Funny.
That way, we eliminate any friction or misunderstanding right from the get-go, and it helps ease conversation. It makes our space more familiar to them. So, to go full circle and to answer your question is, I do believe that these conversations need to be happening. We need to entice not only digital buyers to invest in our space, we need to help educate creatives who haven't dealt with digital out of home previously, how they can use screens. And we're sitting, for those who can't see us, in front of this amazing Christie deployment right behind us. The screens are tilted, and I mentioned earlier, the designer who would be working on the creative for these screens would be working on it quite a bit because it's not a normal deployment. So we need to hold the hands of creative designers who haven't dealt with these types of setups before, teach them what they can do with all these features. So it makes it a conversation that needs to happen between both the AV side, the folks who are putting these together and understand what is necessary to make them run, as well as the creative side that's investing in the space and just need to know how to execute appropriately.
Just think of the power of, so I mentioned the SCGD before. That's one of my favorite events of the week. I've been there because I've been for the past 3 or 4 years. I was lucky enough to open the conference yesterday. When I've been there before, it's one of the only conferences I've been to where I learn something every single session. I think I know a lot about digital signage. Always something to learn. But every single session at SCG, there was somebody talking about wayfinding and planning and design and, so many things about cities and screens and things that they're coming at it from a completely different viewpoint. But think of it this way. How many conferences would you ever go to or exhibitions where you can get 4 different organizations, associations? The DPAA that looks after digital place-based media, the OAAA that looks after the outdoor industry, the traditional billboard people, the Digital Signage Federation who looks after the digital signage industry, SCGD, we had people from FEPI here that I know you do lots of things with. There was some IAB stuff going on. That's 5 different associations. They all have their own viewpoint. And as Stephanie says, they all have a different language to speak. Bringing them together is the most important thing. We tried to drag, creative people from Daktronics, from Christie, from Clear Channel, from JCDecaux to go to the SCGD event because they just buy 1 ticket. Next year you'll buy 10 because these people are going to come back thrilled and excited about what you can do with it. And equally, we make sure that the heads of the SCGD come to our event, and Barry makes sure that the heads of our, the other associations come to his event. So there's a good crossover. That doesn't happen anywhere else, I don't think, around the UK or around the world. Sorry.
Yeah, that's fascinating. All right, guys, that is going to do it. Steph Gutnett, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
How do people find you or Broadsign?
They can find Broadsign by visiting our website, broadsign.com, and I am on LinkedIn and very happy to answer any messages that come my way.
All right, Steph Gutnett.
Thank you.
Mr. Cottrell, thank you, sir,
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. How do people find you again?
Daily Do.
Just Daily Do.
Yeah, just Google
it.
It's there, yeah.
All right, very good. My name is Tim Albright. Don't follow me on Twitter. I'll be bitching about the Bears pretty soon, but the Blues are playing hockey, so hey. But go by the website if you would, please, AVNation.tv. AVNation.tv, you'll find this program. We don't always do it from New York. Typically, it's in our home office in St. Louis, but we gather folks like this remotely, and we do a weekly wrap-up of the news every single Friday. We also have a residential show called AVWeek, hosted by our residential guy, Matt Scott, who, congratulations, just got voted to the board of CEDIA. So, not too shabby. We
Very
have
good. Well done.
a CEDIA board member as a host. Not too bad. But yeah, all that and more is at avnation.tv. You'll find also on there, you'll find our list of underwriters. These are the folks that help us do what we do, including bringing you New York Digital Signage Week. Christie is one of them, so we thank them so much for their support there and their support here today. So all that and more, avnation.tv, avnation.tv. Thanks so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. This has been AV Week.